All right, guys, we're back. Finally. So
it's been a while.
So we actually started filming a video on part 2 of Carter's Z.
Yep.
And didn't quite have enough to put out a full video. Ran into some complications, and well, not necessarily complications, more like
everything just takes more time than you initially think it's going to.
Yeah, so. You know. And then some of the aspects of the build may have escalated, which we will go into further detail at another time.
Yes. Good changes.
I'll tease you a little bit. But today is a very exciting day because today we are finally able to work on my AE86 again. So a little backstory on the car. I've had it for about 1.5 years. I bought it, was it October of 2018? I think we determined.
Yep.
It's a 1987 Corolla SR5 with a full GTS conversion, GTS rear end, GTS engine harness, GTS chassis harness. I bought it. The kid who had it before me blew up the rear end, probably doing burnouts or something. So towed it back from Miami, got it here, changed out the rear end, drove it for what, like a week?
Maybe like a month.
A month.
Got one good run on the little toge.
Drove it for a little bit, and then started to get a little bit of a valve tick in the head, unrelated to oiling. Well, I don't want to say unrelated to oiling, but it wasn't because of lack of oiling. It was something else. Couldn't really figure out what it was. So I actually went out and picked up an MR2 big port 16 valve off of Craigslist, threw that in, never ran right. Ran like it, smoked everywhere. It was terrible. So then I was just, had decided, screw it, we're gonna build a new engine. And that's where this came into play. So this is my silvertop 20 valve 4AG, fully built.
I think one of the cool fun facts about this engine is that it was kind of a Frankenstein, right?
Yeah, so actually the block that was in the original 16 valve in this engine when I bought it was actually a 20 valve block. So it was a silvertop 20 valve block with a 16 valve big port head. Still had 20 valve pistons. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. So I actually got a good deal on the head when I was, pulling everything apart, decided I wanted to build a 20 valve. Got a good deal on the head, drove to Atlanta in a night, right?
Yeah, I think we had a 29-hour trip.
Left after work on Friday from Tampa, drove all the way up to Atlanta, picked it up first thing in the morning, drove all the way back.
I'm sorry, credit where credit's due, it was a 26-hour trip. We left at 5 p.m. on a Friday and got back at 7 p.m. on Saturday.
Yeah, so it was pretty fun. So I picked up the head, I picked up some seats from the guy, and then I started gathering all the parts together, and then I wanted to take it to a machine shop because it's a pretty aggressive build. It's a so it's a 12.5 to 1 compression ratio, 1mm head gasket, 194E Kelford cams, which if you don't know what that is, that's a 302-degree duration on the intake, 294 on the exhaust, I think, with a max lift of 10.5mm, which obviously this takes this way into the realm of interference engines. So I wanted to, contact somebody who maybe knew what they were doing a little bit more than me. I really wanted to tackle the challenge, but because there was so much time and money invested into this one, I just wanted it done right. Issue was the guy who did my engine, super nice guy, super knowledgeable guy, has a bunch of 8.6s, took forever.
Forever.
I think we went on like 7 months, was it?
Yeah, you dropped it off in either late October or early November of 2019, and well, when did you get it back? 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago, yeah. So, and I mean, not all of it was his fault. There was a lot of hang-ups with parts coming from Japan, things taking a long time. My clutch took forever, and we had the flywheel balanced with the crank pulley and the crank. So it's full balanced bottom end, new pistons, new rods. The crank was polished. The whole entire head was ported, intake and exhaust, all cleaned up. I've got SuperTech titanium valve springs, SuperTech titanium valve retainers, the whole 9 yards. So, but finally we got it back. We're ready to start, getting things bolted on. And the goal for today is hopefully to see it sitting in the engine bay here. We'll see how far we get. A couple things that have got to be done before I gotta finish the waterline relocation kit, which I'm using this super nice SQ engineering stuff. If you've never used it before, super high quality. Couldn't be more impressed. Super easy. Everything just bolts right up. Very happy with that. So yeah, yeah. So enough talking. Let's just let's get to work. What do you think?
I think there's gonna be a lot of exciting stuff to show here, so I'm really excited.
Would you like to tell them how hot it is?
Well, it's I think summer came. I mean, we live in Florida, so summer's here in like February, but it's really summery right now. Like, we're getting afternoon rains almost every single day, which is like a July thing.
We've been here for 15 minutes tops now.
Yeah,
right? 15 minutes. Just got to my storage unit, and I am already, if you can't tell, drenched in sweat. So it's gonna be a fun one.
We got like 4 gallons of water. We got
a bunch of natty seltzers, a bunch of water. We're ready to go.
Yep, it's gonna be a good day.
Let's get to it.
Let's get to work.
All right, so we've been plugging away at it. Had to run to Ace to get a bunch of hardware. So we've got the rear water connection on, and this front one right here. But I wanted to show this beautiful valve cover right here. So excited for that. It came out so good. It's like the color was bronze chrome. I was gonna do gunmetal, and I got there and everything just looked too plain, and then I saw this and I was like, that's the one. So yeah, so we're gonna keep plugging away at it. Alright. So you probably should do this with the timing belt off, but I had it on earlier when I mocked it up.
Apparently the machine shop did not agree.
Well, he didn't have the water pump. But the engine is already in time, and I don't want to take it back out, so...
Don't blame you.
Alright, so waterline relocation kit is mostly done. I do have to get a line to run from here to here, but the water pump is in. I bought the wrong bolts for the water pump, so I gotta go out and buy some fresh ones. And then I'm missing the spark plug galley parts for the valve cover, and probably just need a new valve cover gasket, so I gotta get a new kit for that. But we're gonna keep pressing forward. I just threw a quick coat of paint to freshen up the mounts here, and Carter is working on cleaning up the clutch fork and putting the new pilot bearing on the transmission. So just coming right along. Alright, so I know I haven't been filming very much, just been going through a little tedious stuff, getting the engine ready to be mated up with the transmission. So we've got the water relocation kit is pretty much finished. I still need a line to go from here to here. We'll have to go out and buy like a nipple or do an AN line or something like that. There's also another threaded port right here for the heater core bypass that has to be blocked off. Water pump is all on. That's good, and the distributor block off will be running. Coil and plug conversion is on, so really all that's left, getting the alternator bracket on, getting the motor mount brackets on. Carter went ahead and, you can't really see it, but he went ahead and put the new throwout bearing onto the transmission. So one slight issue, the T50 that I have is an SR5 T50, which it's exactly the same, except the starter is on the hot side instead of the cool side, where the GTS it's backwards. But the dust shield that I have is a GTS dust shield. So we might have to make something work for that. I didn't really want to cut it up because I have a W58 that will be going in for phase 2 of this build. But we'll see. I really want to get the car running, so we'll see if we can make something work. Keep watching. Alright, so I'm sitting down. It's super hot. We got the motor mount bracket on the other side on. Trust me, it's there. I don't feel like getting up to show you. I apologize. I'll show you on the next clip or whatever. This motor mount bracket right here, The M8 hardware that I have is slightly too long, so we're gonna run to Ace, get a couple new pieces of hardware. Earlier I was talking about the waterline relocation kit, and I was wrong. So if you are bypassing a heater core, which I don't have a heater core because race car, right? This line right here does not need to be there. So I've got 3 brass plugs. Got to pick up some Teflon tape. The biggest thing that we got to go do, which we're going to run over to Carter's house to do, is, so I think I mentioned it earlier, I have 2 different dust shields for the flywheel, right? So it goes behind the flywheel on the engine side. One of them is from an MR2, one of them is from a GTS. So the transmission that we will be using initially in this is a T50, but it's an SR5 T50. Only difference being that the starter is on the hot side of the engine. Problem with that is that the dust shield that I have is actually for a GTS T50, which has the starter on the cold side. So the cutout on the dust shield for the starter is on the wrong side. So we're gonna go over to Carter's house and do a little bit of snippy weldy and make a dust shield. And yeah, so I'll show you guys that, but that's kind of where we're at. It's coming along really nicely. Everything, these cars are so easy to work on. I'm so happy. Like, yeah, I'm excited to get it into the car and get it running, actually be able to drive it, because I haven't driven it in a long time. So yeah, so to Carter's. All right, so as I mentioned in the last clip, we are now at Carter's. Essentially what we're going to be doing here is, if you see this plate right here, the cutout for the starter is actually on the intake side, where on the SR5 T50, the cutout on the bell housing is on the exhaust side. So I also have this MR2 piece here from a 16 valve MR2 AW11. So what we're going to do is we're just going to line these up right here, chop the bottom off the GTS one, and just kind of tack it into place. It doesn't really have to support any weight, and it doesn't have to look real pretty. It just needs to fit and protect the flywheel from debris and whatnot. So that's what we're going to do right now. All right, so cuts have been made, metal's been cleaned up. Came out pretty good. I'm going to do a couple of test speeds on this one just to make sure that I get the wire speed and the voltage right, because I don't want to mess this one up. I only have one, so let's do it. Alright, so here's the almost finished product. Gonna throw a little bit of paint on it, try and flatten it out a little bit more, but should work out pretty well. Yeah, so obviously when I go to phase 2 with the W58, we will be getting a new one of these, but for right now we're just trying to get the engine and transmission into the car so we can get it running. So all right, so one other thing we got to do real quick is, so this is the front wheel drive 20 valve alternator, and this part right here goes over where the motor mount mounts on the cold side. So it's 4 bolt holes. One of them is massive, you can see here. So I think it'd be fine if we just lop this one off so that it fits on there. All it's doing is holding the alternator on, so that's what we're gonna do. All right, so here is the alternator bracket with the piece cut off. I went ahead and threw a little bit of touch-up paint on it, so should be good to go. Getting close to throwing her in the car. All right, so we're back again. It's another day. Yesterday we didn't get quite as much done as I was hoping to, but we got a lot accomplished. So the engine's pretty much ready to go in. We got the alternator on, so you can see here's the cut alternator bracket right here to make that work. We got the NST alternator tensioner on here, which actually works pretty well, so I'm pretty pleased with that. All in all, everything was pretty easy. It was just really hot and we were really tired, so we figured we would leave the last bit for today. So I'm gonna try and do a little bit better job filming today. Pretty much what we're gonna do is we're gonna put my Ogura Racing clutch on, which I'll show you that in a second here. It's super nice, super happy with it. And we're gonna mate it up to the transmission. I'll also show you a little bit more my custom dust shield that I made. I know a lot of the 86 guys are gonna get mad at me because I chopped up one of those plates, but honestly, they're really hard to find. I tried for a long time to find an SR5 one and could only find a GTS one. I'm not about to buy a whole SR5 swap just to take that. So, you know, when it comes time to switch to the W58 during phase 2, you know, we'll address that. But for right now, this is gonna work fine, no problem. So we're about to take the engine off the stand. We got the hoist here, throw the clutch on and made it up to the transmission. All right, so like I mentioned earlier, this is the plate that I made. Here it goes. We're gonna see if it fits. So there's an alignment dowel here, an alignment dowel here, and it looks like all the holes line up.
Nice.
So should be good to go.
Fabrication, baby.
Gotta throw a couple of 10 mils in here and then we'll throw the clutch on. All right, so here is the clutch and we're going to take it apart with some YouTube magic. It's a terrible snap. All right, so here's the clutch taken apart. We got the friction disc here. Very nice. I'm very, very excited about this clutch. I've never run a clutch with this kind of style before, so it'll be interesting. But if anybody knows anybody who can contact Ogura or help me out when we go to do the W58 swap, I would like to use this same clutch kit, but I need to replace the splines on this. So if anybody knows anybody, message me. Alright, so the clutch is all on and torqued down. Before you guys start commenting and yelling at me for using the impact, I only use the impact to get them started. We torqued everything properly. And yeah, we're ready to mate it up to the...
Hey, if anybody's gonna install this clutch kit...
Oh, yeah.
Can't read Japanese.
So, by the way, it took us, what, probably like 20 minutes, half an hour, searching through the internet, trying to figure out torque specs. So if anybody has an ORC super single clutch for a 4AG, the torque spec for the pressure plate is 39.2 Newton meters, which is about 28 foot-pound of torque. So, internet, there you go. Because apparently nobody else decided to mention that.
We saved you some kind of reading. So
we went to the deep web, and I got on some sketchy Google Drive in order to find a full Japanese instruction manual, and luckily Carter studies a little bit of Japanese and was able to figure it out with a combination of experience and Google Translate. So internet, Ogura Racing clutch, super single, 28 foot-pound on your pressure plate bolts. Alright guys, so it's another day again, filming on my phone because all my camera batteries are dead. So we weren't able to get as much accomplished this weekend as I had hoped for. We got the clutch on, as you guys saw, and then we had a hell of a time trying to get the transmission to mate up with the engine. For some reason, never had this issue before, but it wasn't happening. So we decided to call it quits. I'm gonna try and go during the week this week and see if I can get it knocked out so that we can get the engine in this coming weekend. But anyway, so I figured I would end it here. put out a video. If you like what you see, you know, like, comment, subscribe. If you're here for Z31 content, there will be more. There is more coming. We've actually got some pretty big plans for Carter Z, so that's going to be really cool, as well as a lot of stuff planned for the 86. So stay tuned for that, and have a good night.